Hello and welcome to the Skate Podcast. I'm Brandon.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Dave.
What?
I mean,
Dave.
Mark. I'm Mark.
Oh.
Sorry.
Mark.
Got
Mark.
confused.
Who's this Mark?
Yep, today is a special episode because we have Mark with us today, special guest. He's been part of the podcast since the beginning, really. You've probably heard us talk about him. He did the artwork that you see, and he's also been handling our Twitter because we can't figure it out.
Yep.
I can't figure it out either, so.
He let me borrow his mic like the first few episodes, and
Are you ever going to give it back?
no.
I'm still waiting for it.
I don't even know how he's recording this right now.
Yeah.
I'm using telepathy, obviously.
So how long have you been doing artwork?
Since I was a small child, I would say, and professionally, I'm still trying to get to that point.
Yeah,
But-
you. I know you commissioned some stuff, right?
Yeah, I do some little commissions. I do some comics here and there, illustrations. Yeah, just
Did
right
you
now
want
it's
to
hobby.
give? Did you want to give your website a plug or anything?
Oh,
If
well,
anybody wanted to find you?
I mean, if anybody wanted to find me, they could just go to mark-th.tumblr.com, or that's probably the easiest one because I don't feel like spelling my whole last name. That's
Okay.
it.
We'll put a link for you.
Yeah, we'll offer links.
Not that anyone will find it.
Well,
I
I'll
don't
find
know.
it.
I think ever since we started offering this sock as a prize, our audience has been growing.
Yeah, I got that sock right up there.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
still here.
Mark can't see it, but it's
You know, I did leave a review, and I thought I was going to get the sock, but apparently
you want the sock?
No. I mean, yes, yes, it's a great sock, and everyone should want it. It's
Okay.
even probably washed.
It is. It's washed. Darn you guys.
The holy sock of escape pod.
All right.
All right,
Any
so
news we're talking about?
yeah,
Or are we
you
just gonna-
were bringing something up earlier, Mark. You were talking about Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, there's a lot
Seconds
of
earlier.
rumors going around, literally seconds before recording. There's a lot of rumors going around that Quentin Tarantino may direct a new Star Trek film, which it's literally rumors where he said that he would be interested in it, and TMZ asked him about it, and he said there would have to be a meeting about it. But I don't know, it just got me thinking about what a Quentin Tarantino directed Star Trek film could look like. I did forget. There was also, he mentioned that he would be interested in taking 1 or 2 episodes from the original series and like expanding them into like a full-fledged movie.
Did he happen to say which ones?
He
Curiosity?
didn't go into any
Okay.
detail about that. But I don't know. It's just thought that could be interesting to see a Quentin Tarantino take.
I don't know. Do any of you know how well the last Star Trek movie did? I don't know if it did all that well in the theater.
I think it did better than the second one.
Okay.
I thought that's what I heard. I didn't see it, but
I have no idea.
Well, if it made money, then they might be open to talking to him. I assumed that the third one would be the final one for now.
Yeah, but he was. I mean, because if he did it that way, it would probably get away from the Chris Pine and I don't remember anyone else's names characters.
Yeah, well, but enough about that. Yeah, Quentin Tarantino's Star Trek, he can be a good filmmaker, but I wonder how long it would take for him to start being Quentin Tarantino and just have everybody blow each other away. And
I'm not a fan of this.
it would turn into just a big gore fest towards the end of the movie.
Yeah, you'd probably have to have a lot of. You wouldn't have it with the original series, but a lot of Klingons. Just
It'd be the first time you'd see like a ton of swearing in a Star Trek movie.
it would definitely not be the utopian world that Gene Roddenberry created.
And Samuel Jackson would be in it for sure. I don't know who he would play. A Klingon.
These mother effing tribbles on this mother effing deck.
Yeah, he's got tribbles all over a spaceship. Tribbles on a ship. All right. Well, that would be interesting. We'll have to keep our eye on that. I don't mind Quentin Tarantino, but I'm not like a huge Tarantino fan like a lot of people are. There's a few of his that I really like. Like I saw Hateful Eight not too long ago, and I was like, yeah, that's not too bad. I loved the one about World War II. I'm trying to think of the name of it.
With Brad Pitt?
Yeah.
I've seen it
Inglourious
once.
Bastards.
Okay.
That one, if you haven't seen it, I don't want to ruin it. It's a very serious movie that by the end of it, I think turned out to end up being kind of like a practical joke.
Okay.
If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a great drama for the most part, and then he Tarantino's it up. So it's pretty. It's got a pretty interesting ending.
I thought I heard something about JJ. Next
Star Wars.
Yeah. Didn't Joe
Okay.
Johnson get fired or something?
Yeah, I heard
Creative
something about
differences?
that as well.
Joe Johnson, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
What?
I don't know. It's just he's been a big director for a while. He did like the third Jurassic Park.
The fourth. He did Jurassic World.
He did Jurassic World. I thought he did the third one as well.
Wait, am I thinking of the right guy?
I think you're not.
Okay, I don't know.
Well, this is the greatest movie podcast in the world.
We don't know what we're talking about. All right.
This is where the research happens, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it's funny. Every time I hear anything about Star Wars lately, it's how the directors are being fired for creative differences, or even the Han Solo movie. They ended up going with an actor that they had to bring in an acting coach for, during filming.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
So I don't know who's in charge of casting and all the decisions now.
Nobody.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how Star Wars goes. I have a feeling it doesn't matter what they do. Everybody's going to go see them anyway.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know I will.
Yeah. So are we ready to start this episode?
I guess.
You have trivia for us?
I do.
Trivia. Sorry,
Trivia.
that was it. That was the whole song.
Today's episode 33 on the old podcast.
That's a good one. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about The Iron Giant from 1999. It has a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's directed by Brad Bird. And you might know him from Ratatouille, The Incredibles, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, The Simpsons, and Tomorrowland. Stars Eli Marciano as Hogarth, Jennifer Aniston as Annie, Harry Connick Jr. as Dean, Christopher McDonald as Kent Mansley, and Vin Diesel as the Giant. It was made on a $70 million budget, but only made back $30 million. The movie is based on the 1968 book, The Iron Man, by Ted Hughes. However, the title was changed to The Iron Giant as not to be confused with Iron Man. The book is set in England and has the giant fighting a giant space dragon. Hogarth was given the author Ted Hughes' last name. Kent and Dean were original characters created just for the movie. The film is set in 1957. Director Brad Bird had Eli, the voice of Hogarth, run laps around the studio in order to sound realistically out of breath. Ollie Johnson and Frank Thomas were two members of Disney's 9 old men who make cameos as the train conductors. The Giant says a total of 53 words. Frank Welker, Peter Cullen, James Earl Jones, and Sean Connery were considered for the Giant's voice. The battle mode of the Giant took inspiration from War of the Worlds. Production designer Mark Whitney, a Michigan native, placed a Detroit Lions pennant in Hogarth's room, convincing Brad Bird that it was logical for someone from Maine, which doesn't have a team, to be a fan of the Lions, who were at their greatest success in the 1950s. The filmmakers went through great lengths to ensure 1950s accuracy, including the soldiers' uniforms, weapons, tanks, the jets, cars driven, advertisements, and the freight train. This is the first traditionally animated feature to have a major character who is fully computer generated. To better blend the computer-generated giant to a traditionally animated movie, the technicians came up with a program that gave the giant's lines a slight wobble in order to make it look more natural. Pete Townsend wrote music for the planned musical version. However, Brad Bird didn't see it being a musical. Townsend, however, still received an executive producer credit. The giant stands at 50 feet tall. The animators took inspiration from the 1940s for the look of the town. The A113 Easter egg is seen. Joe Johnson, who designed early concept art for the Giant, also did work on Star Wars. This is Vin Diesel's highest rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes. The comic book Hogarth shows the Giant is Action Comics issue 188, released in 1954.
Okay, so that was a real comic.
Yeah.
All right. Mark, you picked this movie out. Why?
Because I wanted you guys to try to say hard names, difficult names like Hogarth and stuff. I thought that would be fun. No,
Josh appreciates it.
No, I've really enjoyed this movie for a long time. I didn't see it when it first came out, but I knew of its existence. I've always been a really big fan of cartoon films, being an illustrator and whatnot. And I liked this movie because I feel like around this time we were starting to see more cartoon movies that were getting a little more serious and taking on a little bit more of more heavy tones and whatnot. You had movies like this. You had that one movie that I was thinking about.
Treasure Planet.
No, that one did come out though. But no, it's another one that came out.
A.
Yeah, Titan AE. That was another one that came out that had more of like it was like a PG film, and they were using some CGI and stuff. So, I feel like that's really interesting and kind of something that people don't get into as much with sci-fi and action and, drama and kind of stuff is that cartoons can be pretty awesome that way.
I've heard before that this was a good movie, but I had never watched it. I remember seeing ads for it. Came out in 99, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing ads for it, but I never got a chance to see it, and I saw it for the first time this morning. Josh, had you seen it before?
Yeah, I had seen it once, probably back when it was first released on video, so probably around 2000 or so, I would guess, or late 99. But in what you were saying, Mark, about them taking on a little more heavier tones or heavier themes in animation, I thought it was interesting. One time I heard this interview with Brad Bird, and he was saying how basically he doesn't like it when people say, oh, this is an animated movie. It's an animated movie. Because basically, just because it's anime doesn't mean it can still be a drama that's animated or a comedy or, sci-fi or an action or whatever. That just because it's anime doesn't mean it's just a cartoon. I thought that was kind of interesting. I never really thought of it like that.
Yeah, and I think up until recently, when comic book movies started becoming a big thing, that was a issue that comics ran into a lot too, is that people didn't think comics could be something, aside from the people who were really into them. Yeah. People didn't think that comics were something to be taken seriously and that they were, the quote unquote funny pages, and they were just silly, jokey comics for kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, superhero movies tended to be pretty goofy, and then we got into the early 90s and we got stuff like Meteor Man and Blank Man, and people saw that they can be real serious movies worthy of awards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We should watch those sometime.
Yeah. I've actually seen both of those.
Okay.
It's been a while, but
I wouldn't mind. But either way, yeah, I noticed that this one was a little bit more adult themed. Like, I think somebody was talking about drinking whiskey at the beginning of the movie, and I was like, okay, they're trying to keep it in a realistic tone. They didn't go overboard with the adult stuff. It's still something a kid can watch very easily.
I heard that Warner Brothers wanted it to have more like sidekicks and a pet and like little. More,
I was wondering when I started it up if there were going to be any songs in it. Like, I knew it wasn't a Disney movie. I saw the Warner Brothers logo.
Yeah.
But I still wondered if they were going to start breaking out into song and doing cheesy stuff.
Yeah.
But no, there's none of that.
No, I was reading that the original script for it was there weren't a whole lot of details, but that it was more dark, and that they spent some more time focusing on kind of the Cold War, and there was more of an immediate threat of a nuclear fallout kind of thing, that people were more worried about it. In like that was specifically talked about, and that they ended up toning it down.
Well, there's still a lot of that in the movie too. The movie takes place in 1957. Sputnik had just been launched. You see a satellite at the beginning of the movie.
That's it.
But it's way out by Jupiter. I don't know why it's that far out. I think
the Russians were so far ahead. We had no idea. Already had stuff on Jupiter.
It could have been somebody else's satellite, because where did the robot come from?
Well, the satellite that flies by, it had the sickle and hammer on it.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know. That could be alien language right there. It just happens to be the same.
Well, I was reading too. I guess this could have been trivia that Ted Hughes, he wrote this for his children after his wife committed suicide.
Ugh.
So I'm sure the book is probably even darker.
That handles a little bit. That explains a little bit of the death thing.
Yeah.
That you see later in the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and here's just really quick, like a synopsis of what the actual book is. The robot comes down. It actually comes out of the ocean, not from space. Hogarth tricks him and leads him into a pit and buries him. And the robot is buried there for months and then digs himself out. And while he's digging himself out, the alien that it comes out that is dubbed the Space Bat Angel Dragon comes and says it was drawn to the planet because of the warfare, and then the giant stops him.
I guess he goes to Australia. The giant has to be taken apart and shipped, and it was something about a battle where there was like a challenge where he would breathe fire on the giant, and if the giant couldn't stand that, like it was something about the sunlight for the dragon and the heat of the fire for the giant.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It doesn't sound very good to me.
He also apparently released a follow-up to it. It was called, very creatively, The Iron Woman. And it was basically a very similar story, but for...
girls.
Yes. Yeah, he didn't allow girls to read the first book. Anytime he saw a girl buying it, he smacked it out of their hands.
Did you read the book, or were you just researching it?
No, I was just researching it.
Okay.
The Iron Woman was about like nature.
Oh, okay.
Instead of
from what you said about the book, I think I like the movie version better.
Yeah.
But I'd have to read the book. Everybody always says the book is better. Yeah, it's towards the beginning of the Cold War, after World War II, Russia and America had a race of arms, basically. And at this point, it was the space race of the Cold War, where Russia launched a satellite. It's the first one up there. Everybody was worried about everything.
Was it the fear that basically you could have a missile attached?
Well, they could spy and see everything.
Okay, but were they worried a lot about missiles possibly being attached to the...
I don't know if that was an initial worry.
Okay.
But it might have been that the satellites could help them pinpoint places to fire missiles.
Or invade.
What could 1950s satellites, what exactly could they see of the Earth? What could that report back? Like, I know now they...
Well, now you can see, like, the writing on a dime, but...
Right. But I'm saying 50s technology, what could a satellite in orbit
I imagine
really
it was pretty decent. You got to figure military technology is like 10 years ahead of anybody else's. At least.
Okay.
But I'm sure, like, you can tell even from a higher up point, like, okay, there's a military base here. Let's check out and see what they're doing, and maybe get a glimpse of a weapon or something. But yeah, it's 57. People were getting paranoid. They even did this thing in the movie where they were showing the kids like a little video on what to do in case a nuclear bomb was coming, which is nothing. You can't do anything. But just to make the kids feel better, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
The amazing thing about that video that they showed was that the kid is under their desk, the bomb lands on the desk, and then everything around the desk is blown up. The ground is blown up 20 feet down, but the desk and the kid are perfectly safe in the middle. And I was like,
what I thought was funny about that is the movie is animated, and they're watching this cartoon within the cartoon, and it was meant to be a little bit like jokey. It's funny how comedic they made the atomic bomb video, basically the one that should be scaring the crap out of everybody. That kind of reminds me of an episode of Boy Meets World, where somehow Corey went back to the 50s and Mr. Feeney was teaching a class, and they were doing that same thing, the drill, like what happens in case the bomb comes. Everybody get under your desk and cover your heads. And Corey's like, and then kiss your butt goodbye. And all the kids start laughing, and Mr. Feeney gets up. He's like, who said that word?
Yeah,
because it's the 50s.
Yeah, I've seen videos where they had the kids line up.
Obviously, if there's a bomb coming, you're screwed. So,
all right,
unless there's an iron giant around you,
there might be.
Well,
I wanted to talk a little bit about the animation. I'm sure Mark
might
have some things to say. I thought it was really cool, like the sense of scale, the shadowing, just the way they did it.
Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting art style that they used. The characters were had very like unique proportions, and everyone kind of had their own like shape and silhouette. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, there was a little bit of the exaggerated features, but I like when he lands in the water, the way the waves look, and just the boat, and I don't know, all that stuff.
The art of it kind of reminded me of 101 Dalmatians a little bit, the way the people were drawn, where they'd have the skinny limbs and then like bigger hands or bigger heads.
Okay,
I can see that. Kent kind of reminds me of the
he was the one specifically that protagonist I was thinking
guy. Yeah,
Mansley has the long chin.
Yeah. I thought it was really well done. Everything was very fluid. And I've been watching a lot of anime recently, so it was quite the stark difference to be watching some anime and then going to the very fluid style of the Iron Giant.
I prefer, if I'm going to watch animation, I like the kind of like hand-drawn look of things. I don't mind, like, it was cool how they blended in the CG, and around this time, that was kind of a trend that was starting to happen. What year did Toy Story come out?
95.
95? So Toy Story was obviously all CG, but you had other things come out, like you mentioned Titan AE earlier, that had a little bit of CG in there too. Futurama did that a lot, where they would blend it in the CG, and it had a really cool look to it. So whenever you'd actually see the robot on the screen, he'd look 3D.
I thought it looked great. I thought I really didn't like sometimes that kind of stuff pops out though. Like to me, it didn't. Like I thought it looked fine. Like it didn't look like, oh, there he is. And it's just like,
I don't feel like animation can really ever be like dated. So I don't understand why everybody feels like every animated movie now has to be a CG movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd like to see more of like the hand-drawn stuff, but
I think so much of it comes down to just that it's easier because you make one model for the character and then you're just moving it around and posing it. But it was interesting because in one of the shorts before a Disney movie, I don't remember which Disney movie it was before, but the short was called Paperman. And it was this whole short that was done about a guy who was like trying to get this girl's attention with paper airplanes or something. But they did everything in CG, but they used a bunch of techniques to try to make it look like it was hand drawn. So it was like, why don't you just hand draw it then? I mean, you're doing all this extra work to try to fake hand drawing. Just do the hand drawing.
I think the first time that I saw them going on about CG in an animated movie like that may have been Beauty and the Beast when that came out. Because I think that scene where they're dancing is computer animated.
Yeah, that whole zoom in on the ballroom. Yep.
But yeah, I enjoyed the animation of this. Everything looked nice. It seemed to stay well proportioned. The lines stayed together pretty well.
Yeah, I did read, though, they had to change. Technically, he's supposed to be 50 feet tall, but they changed his size, certain shots to make him be able to fit in the screen.
Yeah, I was going to say there were a few times where the giant definitely changed sizes, which, I mean, you have to do to make it work in the story. But
that's actually something that they do even in live action, like monster movies with giant monsters. They'll change size just depending on what kind of shot they want.
Right, yeah. Yeah, because at one point he's, like picking up an entire car, that's, fitting easily into his hand, but then also the hand is fitting into their bathroom or, walking around their house. And it's like, okay, I mean, it's fine. Like you said, you do that kind of thing to, make certain shots more dramatic and make certain things work and, just to make the story flow. But it was just something I kept kind of chuckling at when I would see these vast differences and go, okay, that's weird.
It's easy to ignore it, though.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it took me out of it.
Now, this actually is kind of funny that when you guys read the synopsis of the two books, it sounded even more like Pacific Rim. But when I was watching it, I kept thinking of Pacific Rim, the giant robot coming out of the water, and just some of the stuff that happened in the movie reminded me of that quite a bit. And I'm wondering how much of Pacific Rim was maybe inspired by this story.
Well, it's funny you say that. I didn't think of that one, but I did think a little bit of King Kong, Beauty and the Beast, E.T., Harry and the Hendersons, and even Data from Star Trek. E.T. seems pretty obvious. King Kong, I mean, just the fact that he's got this,
E.T. didn't cross my mind until like towards the end. There was a scene where he kind of put his finger out.
And it wasn't even that. It was just the fact that he had this special connection with the boy. He wanted to protect him.
Government was coming to
exactly all that stuff.
Yeah.
Harry and the Hendersons, obviously the same thing. He had to hide him and try to get him back. Harry? You don't like Harry and the Hendersons?
I don't know.
I would like to see a Harry and the Hendersons styled movie with the Iron Giant, like a sequel where he's just getting into more wacky shenanigans.
Yeah. Also, Sloth from the Goonies.
Okay, there you go. That's your team up. So the sequel for the movie could be the Iron Giant, Sasquatch, and Sloth.
Real talk. Like, but every one of those movies, it's like a kid and either this creature or this thing, except for Harry and the Hendersons, but you know what I mean? Where basically there's a special connection. He's trying to protect him, and he's misunderstood. The whole thing. It's the same story. We've seen it all before, but
have either of you seen Fuzz Bucket? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I never
Fuzz
heard
Bucket?
No idea. Nope.
Okay, I think it was Jonathan Landis directed like a short movie for Disney, and it's about a kid who had an invisible friend. Nobody else could see it, but the friend ended up being real, and it was like this little creature. Anyway, yeah, similar idea.
There's kind of like what's that movie with Jimmy Stewart? Crap. I can't remember any movie titles today.
Rear Window.
Sorry. No, yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life.
No, I'm going to find it, though. We'll come back to it.
Okay.
Feel free to Google it.
Here's my question. What did the giant hit his head on? He lands in the ocean. The only thing I can think of is maybe he was hit by an asteroid in space. That's what set him off course. It caused his memory lapse and caused him to crash on Earth. Because I don't see what unless he hit the bottom of the lake or no, I guess that would be the ocean. in the beginning of the movie. I don't know what he could have hit his head on.
Maybe a rock under the ocean, I guess.
I'm assuming he was straight off course.
You're supposed to go somewhere else and he got hit?
Well, actually, I guess if you watch this, there's a deleted scene that they incorporate into like a director's cut. And what you're going to find out is that there was a bunch of them that were sent off like a convoy and that he gets separated from the group.
Okay.
So I'm assuming it was an asteroid.
That's weird that they would cut that.
Well, yeah, there were 2 scenes that they cut, and basically Brad Bird said that it was literally because they didn't have enough money to keep animating the couple of scenes, and they weren't essential to the story, even though he said he thinks that they made it a lot better. But that was one of those scenes.
I think it's interesting that you don't know where he came from. However, I'm just that type. I always thought, well, clearly some alien race invented these things to send them out to, I'm assuming, conquer. You could maybe argue it could have been for exploration and the weapons were just for defense. But I'm assuming he was made to be to survey and maybe even destroy and conquer other worlds.
Yeah, they kind of hinted that he was not supposed to be like beneficial being. He was meant to be more violent, but maybe like the bump on his head allowed him to make friends. But at the same time, he only reacted defensively to weapons.
Right.
So it's hard to say. But I had the impression that he was supposed to be a bad guy somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. If he could, if he wouldn't have hit his head, he probably would have been coming down to start sapping everything up.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't remember if the bump was there before, but I always had the impression that the bump came when he fell over after being electrocuted. Because up until he gets electrocuted, he's still kind of just moving around very robotically and like trying to find metal stuff to eat.
Yeah, his motions become more human-like as he's running away from the military. The way he, like, when he first is going for that tower, he's just like, and just very straight out. And
so the dent in his head came after he fell at the electrical plant?
I'm not sure. I don't remember if that's...
Well, but he saved that guy. He saved the fisherman. And I don't know why else he would do that if he hadn't.
Did he save him, or did the guy just happen to
I thought he saved him. I took it as he saved him.
He picked him up, didn't he?
I thought he did.
Oh, did he?
I thought he picked him up and set him on the rocks. Oh. So, which again, if he was damaged in space, it would also explain why he was here and whatever. I don't know. We can look for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everyone, go watch it again and reconvene.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Is everybody back?
And we're back. All right.
We still don't know what happened.
I love how the beatnik has zero credibility when they're in the diner and he's like, "Oh man, I saw it too," and they all think that guy's crazy, and they're just like, "Whatever."
Yeah, he goes like, "I rest my case" or something like that.
I love that. Like when the kid's like, "Oh, you saw it," and he's like, "Nah, but if you don't stick up for the crazies, who's gonna do it?" Yeah, that guy came off as like, before they even said the word beatnik, I'm like, he's like a beatnik.
Yeah.
Late 50s, kind of a hipsterish now today would be the term, I suppose.
Which is a segue into hippie, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, his little soul patch and...
Yeah, a little bit laid back.
They always gave him like a 5 o'clock shadow. You ever notice that?
He actually looked a lot like, I've seen a few B-movie, like 1950s B-movies, like on Mystery Science Theater. And there's an actor that shows up a few times, and he looks a lot like one of them, the way they designed him.
Yeah.
So that seemed pretty authentic to me.
I'd agree. I really liked his character. He was interesting.
Yeah, he was.
So I was thinking, okay, when Hogarth, he tapes the gun or the flashlight to the gun, 1, the flashlight widens out, so it's not really going to be able to shoot. And 2, you're trying to be stealth, but he's like got this light that's showing exactly where he's at. I mean, it's fine. It's a movie. But I was just thinking, like, that's not going to do anything.
Yeah, I noticed that. It looked like the flashlight was so big up front.
Talking about his flashlight, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but when he is up in his room trying to look out to see the damage from the monster, the flashlight is so bright and like it's shining out like a mile away from his house. It's just like hitting trees like way, and I was just like, wow, man, that is the best flashlight money could buy.
They don't make them like that anymore.
No, when his mom came and found him, I noticed like, because he had seen the trail, like all the broken trees and stuff. Like obviously something had just been through there, something big. I thought it was kind of funny that she ignored it, that she had no questions about any of that. But at the same time, I guess a worried parent would only care about their child.
True, and I don't know, maybe she thought it was like a construction crew making a path for that power plant or something. Mm-hmm. So how is it he can repair himself, but yet the bump on his head like seems so minor? I mean, his arms got blown off, essentially. Everything else can repair, but yet it took so long for his bump on his head and all his memories to, like, what do you think of that? Doesn't seem like a minor injury compared to everything.
I don't know what I think of that, because we got to the end and then like,
I mean, it works for the story, of course, but like,
did that happen right before he went like full war mode?
Well, he got hit by the train, and remember, both his hands were off, his jaw was all like hanging down and stuff, and everything came back, but the bump on his head, it took for, like, it almost was like,
it didn't fix itself until he got mad. Like, he just got angry, and then all of a sudden it pops out.
It pops out, and it's like he knows everything. He remembers what he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it serves the story, but it doesn't quite make sense to me.
I was always kind of thinking that it kind of seems like all he's doing, though, when he's healing himself is just reconnecting things, not necessarily like fixing anything. He just got really lucky that nothing else got dented.
Yeah, it was like weird the way he gets hit by a train and everything falls apart, but yet you see everything just like connect back, almost like Connects or Legos. Like, you could just pop them back in place. Like, nothing was literally severed. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess, or I don't know.
I loved how like long he was sitting there trying to like reconnect the train tracks and everything, like just the littlest crack, and he's trying to get it to go just right. And had he moved, he would have been fine, but he didn't know what was going on. And I thought for sure the train would have been destroyed.
Well, I thought it was cool. Not cool, but you know what I mean? Like, that they didn't have it. Like, it seems like any other animated movie would have had him get away in time. Like, they actually had him get hit by a train.
Yeah.
Like, it's different. Like, you wouldn't have your hero get really seriously injured that early in most animated movies.
I'm thinking about an animated movie where somebody draws like a black spot on a rock and then the train comes out of there.
Yeah. So, Hogarth, that's a weird name.
Hogarth.
I've heard it before.
I've never heard it until this movie.
There's a Hogarth in the Marvel Netflix series.
Okay.
So I guess it didn't seem all that odd to me.
Oh. Have you ever heard of Hogarth before?
No, never.
No. Okay, you're a weirdo.
I've heard of Garth. I've heard of Ho. No, I haven't heard.
Yeah.
No, it's a weird name. I like that they commented on that, though. Like that Kent was making fun of it.
Yeah.
Like Hogarth. Who names a kid Hogarth?
Hey, champ. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Slugger.
On the Marvel Netflix shows, Hogarth is a last name. It's not a first name. So, as a first name, it is a little odd. Yeah. But I didn't think too much of it still.
I thought it was weird.
So at one point, they say they reported a meteorite or a meteor or a downed satellite, but wasn't Sputnik the first satellite in orbit?
What were they talking about, the robot?
He was talking to like the mayor and like the chief of police of the town, and he was saying something about a meteorite came down, or a downed satellite. But I was thinking again, I thought Sputnik was the first.
Sputnik was the first, but I'm sure America probably launched one shortly afterwards.
Okay.
In that time, I'm sure that they were also just like, well, if Sputnik is up there, who knows how many other ones they are putting up.
Or maybe they just tried another one and it failed. We better get our hands on it so we can check it out.
Could be.
What it really reminded me of was, it had that it took place in 1957. It had the 1950s B movie feel to it. Like, this could have been a movie that was made back then. In fact, it reminded me a lot of The Day the Earth Stood Still. Mm-hmm. And also War of the Worlds, which you mentioned in the trivia.
Yeah, I should have said that. They did take inspiration from The Day the Earth Stood Still as well.
Yeah, he reminded me a lot of the robot from The Day the Earth Stood Still. And especially how the robot, it didn't really do anything until weapons came out, and then it just went around getting people. Yeah, those were two that I noticed for sure. I'm sure there were other references in there too.
Speaking of 1950s B movies, I would really like to watch the movie that Hogarth is watching.
Did you ever watch Angry Beavers, either of you?
Yes.
I'm aware of it.
Okay. It was a constant thing within in the cartoon that they like to watch like 50 sci-fi B movies. And there's this one Halloween episode where they get trapped in the movie. And I think it was like something about a brain with one opposing thumb or something that was crawling around. Do you remember that, Mark? And I remember like, there was like the scientist guy, and the girl. And I remember they're running away with her, and she's like, "Oh, my ankle!" And then like they have to run back and pick her up, and then like they run some more. "Oh, my other ankle!" And they have to run back and pick her up, and they run some more. "Oh, both my ankles!" You know.
So the scene we're talking about is where the kid Hogarth is sitting in front of the TV at night. He's home alone.
Yeah.
And he's got old black and white
eating Twinkies full of extra whipped cream.
Bonus trivia: that was the thing Brad Bird did. He called it the Turbo Twinkie. He actually did that as a kid. Carry on.
Weird Al has another one called the Twinkie Wiener Sandwich, but we can get into that when we do UHF later on.
Okay.
Yeah, the kid is sitting there watching. It's late at night. His mom's at work. He's watching a 1950s B movie on TV. At this point, TV was pretty new too. But yeah, it's hilarious because like they went out of their way to make sure that you knew that this was a B movie. The acting in the show that the kid is watching was horrible. The way the guy was delivering all of his lines and everything.
How about we go to my place for a night?
And of course, it was a brain in a jar that was like the
it had
monster.
like a rat tail or something. It was
like a little cord on it.
Oh no, that was my last fresh brain. Well, no need for you to see this.
And even that cheesy plot, like I've seen movies like that, they existed. The movie really did go out of its way to make sure everything was pretty authentic.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it was a nice surprise. I wasn't sure what to expect when I saw the movie. I didn't expect it to be, one, as authentic as it was, and two, as funny as it was and as serious as it was at the same time. Because there were parts where I was laughing out loud.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were a lot of funny parts in this movie.
Tell
like when he slipped the guy the X-Lax, and then they had the whole scene of him going from person to person. They kept pointing to the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
There's even a scene where he like came out from behind a bush and he's like holding his butt or something like that. That was pretty funny. The beatnik character was funny. It was funny that he was able to get the robot to help him do the art. Like, he was all mad because the robot was eating this guy's scrap. He ran a scrap yard.
Yeah.
And he was using the scrap to turn it into, various pieces of art. And then eventually he's using the robot to build the... What really made me laugh the most is when the giant did the cannonball into the lake. And the water just filled everything up. They weren't even anywhere near the lake anymore.
Yeah.
And the guy's just sitting in the middle of the road.
You're in the middle of the road. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just sitting in the middle of the road. Here comes a truck. You know you're in the middle of the road? Yep.
Yeah.
And then, of course, right before that, when he's reading the newspaper and then he looks up and sees the water and then holds the newspaper up against his face like it's going to protect him.
Like if I don't see it, it won't happen.
Right.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That also gave me, reminded me a little bit of Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yes, I can see what you're saying. Yeah, the ending there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So, yeah, there was a lot of fun comedy. It was a smart comedy. It wasn't like super slapstick or anything.
It was the greatest discovery since television.
Next.
That was one of my lines.
What?
Okay.
You remember that?
Was that a quote?
Yeah.
I didn't write any quotes down this time.
He said about the giant when he first meets him, this has to be the greatest discovery since
television. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Sorry, I didn't recognize it.
The television was just out there, buried in the dirt. Some guys.
Like it was a discovery.
Yeah. What is this?
Yeah.
Imagine all the episodes I Love Lucy they never saw.
Yeah. What do we do with this?
What's your next point there?
Oh, okay. Where are your points?
I got them heading over
Stop
here.
Looking at me.
Most of my stuff was just so I remember the plot.
Gosh.
Points? Why don't you name some points?
Oh, look at that.
I can't
Hogarth
see.
Is a strange name.
Hogarth is a strange name.
I wrote that
too. I guess I did think it was strange.
Yeah.
They mentioned the whiskey and the beer. The score was good, I thought.
Honestly, for some reason, I don't remember the score. Like the Batman 89 score stands out. Back to the Future, Jurassic Park. I couldn't hum this score if my life depended on it. I don't remember it.
I don't think that it was so much a memorable score as much as everything just really set a good mood or a good tone for things.
It didn't stand out in a bad way, and if it feels like it's part of the movie, then if it helps push the story, but you're not noticing it, then that's
I'm assuming when he was sacrificing himself by destroying the nuke, I'm assuming the score was probably right then and there, but I don't. Yeah,
it wasn't like a real cartoony score. A lot of the music in the movie was like background, like 50s music. I don't know if any of it was real music or just kind of spoofy.
There was one interesting tidbit is that when Hogarth is showing him the comic with Superman on it, they actually played music from the old Max Fleischer Superman cartoons like the old black and white Superman cartoons. They played some music from that, and I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was that scene was kind of fun too. Him bringing out like his magazines. He had Superman comic book, which was cool, which becomes a bigger part of the story actually.
Yeah,
but he also mentioned Boy's Life, Mad Magazine.
Yeah. Now Warner Brothers did this, and who did? Because I know Warner Brothers does the early Batmans, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming. Did Superman? Did they do Superman as well or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And there is a Bugs Bunny in his toy chest.
There you go.
Yeah,
so little bits of the Warner Brothers universe in there.
The only other thing about the music, though, there was one thing that I did write down about music, and that was just when the military was going to the junkyard to, go capture the robot. While the music that was playing while that was going on, I just really reminded me of music from Indiana Jones. It had a very similar feel to me. Like from some of the music from Indiana Jones and the Holy Grail. I don't know. I noted that down. I was like, I was listening to it and I thought this sounds very much like when the German soldiers are driving around.
One of the things you mentioned is that the robot, as the movie goes on, becomes more and more human-like and less monstrous. When you first see him, he's roaring everywhere and just eating big chunks of metal and attacking things, kind of. There are some pretty funny moments with that too. One of the things that I was amused by was when the kid wouldn't stop talking to him, like trying to explain something to him. You see the robot kind of starting to fall asleep.
Yeah, his eyes start shutting down a little bit, and then he wakes back up.
Yeah, and he has a hard time communicating at first, but as the movie goes along, he learns more words, and even by the end of it, like he says a normal sentence. I did not realize that was Vin Diesel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was crazy.
Yeah, especially for like 1999, like he wasn't anybody really yet. When did Perfect Dark come out? Or not Perfect Dark.
Pitch Black.
Pitch Black. That's it. That came out around 99. That time.
I would guess 99. I'm not sure.
But he wasn't a big actor yet.
Yeah, he wasn't. Fast and the Furious hadn't come out yet. That
came out like 2001-ish.
Yeah, something like that.
And even then, like he still wasn't huge like he is now. And now he's Groot and the Iron Giant.
I mean, he's got those non-speaking speaking roles down.
Yeah, I don't know how he does Groot so well. I mean,
he is Groot. He is Groot.
Go ahead.
No.
Yep.
Nope.
Guess first. I insist.
Fine. Well, I was going to change the subject. Are you going to change the subject?
Fine. Go ahead.
Fine. Why does he need to eat metal? And also, why does his stomach rumble?
Well, he gets hungry.
Needs to eat metal.
I don't know.
I'm wondering if whatever powers him up requires whatever's in metal, like to burn or some kind of converted to some kind of energy there.
Could be.
Yeah, maybe he's got like some oils and sulfuric acid things rumbling around in there.
If I had to really guess, I'd say whoever either something from the books or whoever was talking about the movie before they made it was like, what would a kid think a robot would eat? Oh, he eats metal. Like looking at it from like a kid's perspective, and that's what they decided to go with because the target audience is still kids, even though it's a smarter movie.
Yeah,
I'll go with that.
Okay. I noticed that one point Hogarth says "bad robot" while he's trying to get him to stay. Don't follow him. Bad robot.
Okay.
I think is when he says that. I wonder if that's where JJ got the inspiration for his production company to name it Bad Robot.
Could be.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Didn't come up in trivia, but
yeah. Well, you may never know. If I ever meet JJ, I'll ask him.
Yeah.
I'll try and get him on the podcast one day for us.
All right.
The town of Rockwell, is that a real town? Did you say that?
No, it was named after. I thought they said it was one of the animators.
Okay.
Or something. It was named after somebody that helped.
What I was thinking was kind of funny was it sounds so much like Roswell. And
yeah.
I was wondering if there was a connection there, but maybe not.
I like when the car horn is stuck and he's trying to set on it. He just like launches it.
Oh yeah, that was another one of the parts. I just started cracking up. He threw that car like 3 miles away.
Like John did something like that one time where it was just something ridiculous that was making noise. Like he just did something crazy like that. I thought I can't remember the exact.
I'm sure all of us have done that at some point. especially with alarm clocks. How many times have you seen an alarm clock get destroyed in the middle of a movie?
I really liked Kent Mansley, FBI. I thought he was a very interesting character because I felt like he started off as somebody that, like, you don't like him necessarily. You know, he's kind of the villain. But also, when he first gets to the town, he's like just trying to do this job. He doesn't want to do it. He's, just trying to figure out what's going on. So he's kind of like relatable in that way. And as the movie goes on and he gets more kind of consumed in trying to get this thing taken down, he just turns into this total villain.
Yeah, I was kind of almost hoping he'd have more of an arc than that. Like, instead of just being the bad guy, like, it seems like he's bad, but if you place yourself in his shoes, he needs to do this stuff. And then maybe at the end of the movie, when he saves a kid or something, it's like, okay, well, maybe this thing isn't that bad. But instead, he just continues to go down that hole.
Well, it's like they paint him as being Mr. Patriotic. Everything's for your country.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you find out really it's all about his career. It's all about what he wants to do. Because at the very end, when he says launch the nuke, and the other general's like, where's the giant? It's coming right here, and he's like, you're going to stand here and die for your country. Basically, he's like, forget that. And he's wanting.
What was he? What was his title? Like, who did he work for specifically?
He can't say.
He worked for a specific branch of, like, the NSA, though, like the weird investigation.
He worked for a specific branch that he couldn't talk about, and all that implies.
I feel like the very first time we see him, he shows his badge. He says the name of it, though.
Oh.
And it almost made it seem like an X-Files type deal.
Yeah, the first thing I thought when he walked up was I thought of the X-Files, and just this is the guy that has to go out and investigate all these people in tiny towns that are saying, "Oh, I saw a giant robot walking around in the ocean."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he said he tells them that
from Twin Peaks.
It also kind of reminds me of a real life situation. There used to be a government program called like Project Blue Book, and I think the guy's name was like J. Allen Hynek, and he'd go around trying to explain UFO sightings. Like, he's the one that made like swamp gas famous.
Okay.
Like, when people are talking about UFO stuff, and that's what it sounded like the guy was used to doing. Like, every time he got called in to investigate something, it never turned out to be anything abnormal. It was almost boring for him. Like, he was just going to look for the explanation, say it, and then leave. And then when he saw that, whoa, there is something really going on here, he got kind of excited.
Okay.
There's a movie. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, apparently Kent Mansley is part of the UPD, which is the Unexplained Phenomena Department.
Okay, that's what it sounded like that he said. There was a movie called What Planet Are You From? Have you seen it?
I don't think so.
No,
it's a smaller movie. It had Gary Shandling in it. One of the characters in the movie is John Goodman, who like investigates strange things for like the airlines, right? Something goes wrong, he tries to figure out what happened, and anytime it was something kind of mysterious or unexplained. Comedy? Yeah, it's comedy.
Okay.
He gets called in to investigate it, and he's like, anytime anything weird ever happens, it's not. There's always an explanation. And that reminded me a lot of this character in the movie, too. That's a fun one. We might have to do that one later at some point.
Sure.
What's your next point?
Where does he go? Like, before he gets to the junkyard, where does he go? How is it no one sees him? Nobody hears him. Nobody feels the ground shake. Nothing.
I specifically wrote down giant sneaky robot because, there's so many times when it's convenient for the plot that, nobody hears him. But then there's other times where they show him and you hear thumping, you hear the metal creaking as he moves around.
There was a British animated movie, Big Friendly Giant. I think Steven Spielberg just remade it. That was a thing that happened too. At night, these giants would come and walk around the town, and nobody would ever know that they were there.
Yeah.
That's another one that this movie reminded me of.
Yeah, it was just funny to see characters being, feet away from a car, and then they turn around and there's a big chunk out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another comedic part too. Like, that NSA guy gets in his car.
Yeah.
There's the chunk of his car out, and he freaks out.
I looked at it because obviously I knew it was there, but like they show the car at just the right angle. You see the rear of the car, but because I was thinking, was it literally just like cut in half? How would he not notice that? How would the car still be setting? But it's like the trunk of the car is still intact, so it's literally like the passenger and the like front engine. But
I'm actually thinking back because you said this takes place on the East Coast, right?
Word.
I was picturing it in like Washington or Oregon.
What's so funny, Mark? What?
Word.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, it takes place in Maine.
Word.
How's it?
I'm kind of interested in knowing like the alien race, who designed them.
They set it up so the story could continue if they wanted it to. Unfortunately, it didn't make any money.
I guess, but I do think in the end it was good as a one-off, like just
there's not enough one-offs these days anyway. But
right,
yeah.
You've said you've never seen The Incredibles, right?
Right.
Okay, The Incredibles was done. Yeah, I know. The Incredibles was another Brad Bird. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible, and it's a perfect movie. It can be a one and done, but they are finally doing a sequel, and I'm really excited for it. But had they not, it's perfectly ended. The way
is the sequel going to have real time between it, so the kids are grown up?
As I can't quite tell you because that would kind of maybe give it away since you've never seen it. But We'll talk about that later.
All right.
Would you agree, Mark? If I told him kind of what happens at the end, it kind of maybe spoils it just a tad.
Yeah, I wouldn't say anything. You need to watch it, Brandon. There should be an episode maybe on it to force him to watch it.
We can never run out of movies to talk about. One, we're not fast enough.
So it's surprising in a lot of ways, but refreshing that they didn't have Mansley like really like hitting on Annie. There wasn't really any of that.
Yeah.
There was the one scene where he's like, hey, but like other than that, they didn't really. It seems like
they
most
didn't
movies,
push the romance with mom, really.
It was really just about, I want to find out what this is. I want to, climb that ladder.
Even with the beatnik, I think they ended up dating, right? By the end of the movie. But they still didn't push it.
No, and that was kind of nice. It wasn't about that. It didn't need to be, and it just it was kind of nice.
Yeah, it seems like there always has to be a romance.
Right, yeah.
When they kind of gloss over it a little. Yeah. Like, good. The story's good enough where you don't need to throw that in.
Exactly, right.
Mm-hmm. There was one little scene that they added in for the quote-unquote signature edition where Dean is at the diner the day after the squirrel incident, and he's there talking to Hogarth's mom, just kind of apologizing about it. And again, like even that scene, which they did add in to the new version, like again, it's just kind of showing them as being friendly people and not being like, oh, we have to push a romance on it. And
right.
I agree. I think that's really nice to just see people being normal people.
Yeah, pretty much everybody in this movie, with the exception of the one, are all good. Even the military guys, like they start firing and going a little bit out of control for a minute, but once they realize what's going on, they calm down.
When the army first starts attacking him and he's like, he's trying to protect him and he's running away, that very much reminded me of Peter Jackson's King Kong. I mean, it's set, there's snow, the whole thing though, like Kong's trying to protect her, he's running away from them. It just seemed like, I wouldn't be surprised to find out if Peter Jackson took a little inspiration from that scene for his scene like that in the movie.
Yeah, because that wasn't in the original Kong movie. I don't remember anything like that.
No, in fact, in the original Kong, she never even. It was only
he had to climb up the building to grab her, right?
Yeah, to get her. Like in both the 70s and the 2000 version, she goes to him because she kind of is trying to protect him. But in the original, she's not. She's like afraid of him. It's like she never wants to be with him. Like she's always trying to get away from him. But anyway, yeah, I just thought that was it seemed very reminiscent. You can watch them side by side. It's almost probably the same beats, like, in terms of what they did. I thought did a cool scene where there's like a Jeep and they like pull in, they're starting to shoot at him and he's running, and you see where it's like the camera pans up and you see him jump over and then you can see him continuing down. I just thought that was a pretty cool shot.
You know what that kind of reminded me of? I think the first Incredible Hulk movie, the one that Ang Lee did.
Yeah.
Isn't there a scene where he's in the city and they're kind of shooting at him?
I've only seen that movie one time.
I believe that was the right one, because the second one he was fighting another
Eric
guy.
Bana version.
Yeah,
he was the lead.
Yeah, in the Eric Bana version, there's a scene where he goes into like a small town and the government comes rolling in. I
remember
tanks.
where he takes a tank and he's like grabbing it by the main gun and like spinning it around. But
that was out in the desert, though, I think.
Yeah, but I can't remember too much about that movie, especially how it ended. But
we can talk more on the Incredible Hulk movies later.
But speaking of the battle scene, I thought the Giants' weapons were really cool. And I liked that, like, the one arm was almost was like a tank gun. The other arm had that like clamp thing, and like there was like the snake things coming out the back, and
the snake
his
things
chest
are what
did stuff.
Me.
His eyes did stuff.
Those snake things. There were 3 of them, I think, and those specifically are what reminded me of War of the Worlds.
Yeah, that's what they took inspiration from. But I liked how the one thing it started spinning, and then there was like something that like it was almost like a Morse code thing, and as it hit, that's how it would shoot stuff. I thought the weapons were really cool.
It was pretty scary once he got ticked off.
And the one specific part where they show he shoots like this green blast, and when it hits the tank, it like almost like when something detonates on a submarine underwater, like it implodes. It just imploded into nothing. I just thought that was really cool and creative. It was unique.
Yeah,
furthering the theory that this was either a thing that came from an alien civilization or Madagascar.
Yeah,
one of the three.
Yes. So hey, we're really good at math. If you heard our Emotion Man episode. So continue.
What were you going to say, Mark? About the weapons?
Oh no, just that they were cool. I liked them.
I really liked the effects too, like especially when he shot those green blasts. And then that one at the end, it looked like, you know, he had his own version of a nuclear bomb that he's just going to shoot.
So yeah, why didn't he? I mean, again, I guess I know why, but if this were real, couldn't he have just shot, once he's flying out there, he could have shot something at the missile and destroyed it instead of literally colliding with it? Like if he wanted to, again, I know
maybe he was afraid he would miss. He didn't hit that ship. I know he turned it the last second.
Yeah, I thought that did he not hit the ship because he kind of...
Or maybe it was just so far away that, you know, he couldn't target it correctly.
He missed the ship because right when he was getting ready to shoot, Hogarth showed up and he looked down at him and shifted his body. I kind of got the impression that it was just because...
But it didn't lock on, would be my point. Like, he had to actually aim it.
Yeah, that's true. I was kind of getting the idea that he was just trying to stick with his, like, I'm not a gun mentality. So he's like, I'm not even going to shoot anything, even if it's something that I know is bad.
Well, when they show the way he aims, obviously they would show like his vision. You would see like the target lock. So I'm assuming if he was looking at it, he was getting ready to fire, and then he hears Hogarth. He looks down, but let's say he pulls the trigger.
It seemed like he didn't have any weapons when he wasn't in that mode, and I know when he was going after.
Well, he could shoot the laser eyes before he ever pulled out literally the big guns.
But he had the white eyes though.
He did white eyes, but then when Hogarth has the toy gun, he could do the red eyes, and remember he blew up a hole through the school bus. So he could do some firing while not in the weapon. I do think it was
a cool throwback though to like, I'm Superman. You can be anything you want, and he decides to be Superman, and he flies up.
Yeah,
that's probably where Superman 4 got. that scene was inspired by Superman 4.
I've seen it, but it's been a while.
Okay. That's the one where he flies out and grabs all the nuclear missiles and stuff, yeah?
Oh, yes. And a giant net. And he flings them into the sun. But I like the ending. I like that Hogarth gets to find out that basically he's still alive by having that, the screw go back. It's like in some ways you almost wish you could have seen them reunite, but in a way it's kind of better probably to have it.
Just leave a little bit to your imagination.
Yeah. And he, gives us a little smile.
So one of the things we didn't cover, and you were talking about it during the trivia, what did he say about his wife in the trivia? The guy that wrote the story or the movie?
That she committed suicide. It was the story he wrote to help his children.
Well, if I had to guess, I'd say it was with a gun. But yeah, that's kind of a theme that comes up, and that makes the movie a little bit heavier. The Bambi scene, basically, where they see the hunters kill the deer.
Yeah, Brittany was telling me her dad he was in the Air Force. He's a member of the NRA. He's very
pro Second Amendment.
Yeah, but he's not irresponsible or anything. But he's of the mentality that people kill. If someone wants to kill you, they'll kill you with whatever. So basically, it's like, I think we should. I don't think you should be careless with guns.
Yeah, it's not actually. You shouldn't be afraid of guns necessarily. They're just a tool. If somebody's going to kill, they're going to kill.
I think you should be afraid of a healthy respect of what damage they can do and so easily. But if someone is crazy and bloodthirsty and wants to kill you,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
they can grab a pipe. They can do anything.
Yeah,
just something. So anyway,
it did end up having a very strong, just like anti-gun kind of sentiment.
Yeah, and it kind of followed the formula for like the 1950s B like science fiction movies, even up to stuff like Arrival nowadays, where it's like, oh, man is your own worst enemy. We gotta get along, or we're gonna destroy ourselves, type of deal.
Yeah,
which is a nice message, but when every movie has it, like either one, it's not working, just shut up already, or two, like can you just come up with something a little more original, please?
I understand that.
Not that it didn't bother me in this movie. They didn't push it as hard as some other stuff, especially Arrival. But yeah, that would be one criticism I would have. Is like, I guess as an homage to that era too. I guess you had to kind of do that type of message. But they didn't push it too hard. It didn't ruin the movie for me or anything.
No.
I thought it was a pretty good movie, actually. Heavy stuff.
Indeed.
Was that pretty much everything? Was there anything else you want to cover about the movie?
I mean, nothing significant. I had a little note about when he's interrogating Hogarth, and you see like the table, and it's like the camera's kind of panning around. That was CGI, right? That had a very unique look to it.
Probably.
It stood out to me, and that's almost like the only thing that was really stood out to me is like looking out of place. Because to me, like when I first saw this movie, I never could tell that the robot was CGI. In fact, in a lot of ways, he looks, I don't know, I just don't really see
He looks like he belongs there, but you can tell he's a little bit more 3D sometimes.
See, I couldn't see it. Could you see it, Mark?
I mean, I've seen it so many times now. I don't remember when I first saw it.
It reminds me of
what I thought.
the ship in Futurama, like how it looks
Right.
like it belongs there, but like the way it moves, you can tell it's a little bit more 3D.
I may have known beforehand that it was 3D as well, so I'm not sure. But I do think that like it blends in really well. Like whatever that program is they used to like help with the lines and the texturing they did. I was gonna say also just the way that like all of the scenes and characters were lit, just really complemented it.
Speaking of lighting, again, trivia, way late. They were saying that they wanted to like tone down the gray of the robot to make him not stand out so much, but it was like not working right. So they actually toned down the colors of everything else. And then I guess in animation, you might know this, there's like, it's called on the twos. And it's like something about how it's not how it refreshes, but how he moves like increments of twos, like traditional animation or something. It better match traditional hand-drawn animation.
Oh, okay.
Basically what it boils down to. And they call it on the twos. And that's the best I can explain.
I have to Google that so I can see what that means. It sounds interesting.
Yeah,
I'm assuming it has to do with because like you use so many cells of hand drawn animation per number of frames in the actual film, and tweening and that kind of stuff. That's when you're between like 10 and 13. You're tweening your cartoons. And no, that's not really what that is. You guys are looking at me really seriously.
I just whoosh, right over my head. I believe you. I trust you. But I was
I could say anything at this point.
Pretty much. You could have been making up stuff.
You kind of remind me of something, another scene that I really liked. You were talking about the interrogation. This guy's chasing down the kid the whole time. I do like that he rented the room out. They had a room for rent.
Yeah.
And
they didn't. Yeah, it just came out of nowhere. It's just like, guess who?
Well, no, they had a sign on the window.
Did they?
Yeah, I
stand corrected
earlier. But so the guy rented the room so he can find out more about what was going on. And then after he called the military in, he didn't want the kid to go off and try and warn anybody. So he's just watching them, and he just left the door open. And they're having like this staring contest all night until the early hours in the morning.
If he nailed the window shut, he could have just barricaded the kid in the room. But I was saying to Brittany as we're watching, I was like, I don't know, as parents now, what woman would leave her kid alone with some?
50s.
I get that, but still, I don't know.
Yeah, man, there's no such thing as stranger danger then. You met somebody on the street, they were a good person, you could give them your checking account information and your children, and you just knew everything was going to be fine.
Yeah, just ask Ed Gein.
All right.
So, I guess as long as you weren't dressed up like a clown, you're okay back then. Are we ready to rank this? Give it a grade?
Yes.
Guess first.
I've been going back and forth a little bit on the grade because I've been trying to grade it fairly and not with my nostalgia.
Well, I think
playing into it.
It's good to take that into consideration, though. I always do.
But I mean, overall, I was thinking like I'm gonna pull a Brandon here, and I would give it a B- or a B.
Okay. Any pros or cons you want to mention real quick?
I mean, watching it over again, as much as I love it, it is there were some parts where I felt like they were kind of rushing through some scenes, or kind of like rushing through exposition to get things going, which I mean is fine. But that was kind of like one of the cons. But I mean, overall, like I love the animation. I think the tone it sets is really good. I think they strike a good balance between the humor and the drama. All of the actors, I think, do great jobs with their characters. So I mean, overall, I really like it.
Okay. I watched it for the first time this morning. My opinion might change over time, but I was leaning towards like an A-. I thought the story was, intelligent, not too much for kids, but enough where an adult can watch it too and really enjoy it. The animation was good. The humor was there for me. I was laughing all morning. The repetitive, peaceful message, while nice, can get old, but they didn't push it too hard. There were parts where it seemed like there was a little bit rushed. Like the movie is an hour and a half long, which is fine. Like that's a good length for a movie, but it felt short, and that just goes to show like how good it was actually.
What felt rushed?
Oh, there were some parts where it just seemed like, okay, the robot's doing this now. We didn't get to see him progress enough, I suppose, but the ending seemed kind of like a little bit there, like that. The last final act didn't happen until like the last 10 minutes of the movie. About it kind of annoyed me that the military was so quick to just go ahead and start shooting and all that stuff. Like, I know what they were going for, the idea that they were going for, but I think more realistically, you check and you make sure that you know what's going on before you just dive into something.
But like if you saw a giant thing, like I don't know. It seems like you.
I mean, it was a giant robot.
I don't like when they portray him as just like, oh, we're ready to shoot at any point. Just give us a reason, please.
Yeah, but I think.
But
they're just soldiers, I mean, they're just that's what they're trained to do. You see an enemy, I think.
Yeah, Mark.
Well, I was going to say also, I mean, the general I do think seems pretty even keeled, and like when they start attacking the giant, it's because of fake information that
he was kind of goaded into it, but it still seemed awfully quick to me. I don't know, because the robot wasn't actually doing anything. I mean, all he had to do was look and see like everybody's standing around it. It wasn't. Now,
it'd been one thing if when he saw all these guns and tanks and everything point, then he went to attack mode, and all of a sudden his guns start coming out. They would freak out, start shooting. But again, I still say if you saw a giant thing and you're holding a gun and you've been trained to,
Yeah. Did that general kind of remind you of like Patton at all?
No, but you know who voiced that character?
Fraser's dad.
Fraser's dad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can kind of see it now. Yeah, the voices sound really familiar, and then when I ended up looking them up, I knew a few of them. So what would you give it? We got a B+.
I mean, you guys really took a lot of the words out of my mouth. I think the animation's great. I like the humor. It's lighthearted enough, but it's heavy enough to give it a nice balance. I think I'm going to go with a B. Solid B. I was thinking at one point a B+, but I think I settled on a B. It's one of those movies you can watch from time to time. I know, when Benji got home, it was on a little bit, and he was, what's that? So I think it's going to be one of those that me and him watch and
down the road.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like the movie kind of still holds up today. And because they have it in a more historical setting, one, it makes it more interesting in a way. And two, it doesn't like date the movie really.
Right.
You can just watch it at any time. Like you're not going to see 90s kids running around like us in our goofy haircuts or people walking around in MC Hammer pants. Stuff that we want to forget.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. It's the 50s setting, and you can go back and watch it at any time.
True that.
I was going to say that one too. Darn you.
Word.
What is this? This is how you guys talk at work?
More or less.
Yeah.
And they let you?
We have this new thing where we dance down the halls after lunch. I'm going to try to make it a Friday thing, but when I first did it, it was like an everyday thing. Well, Mark, I'm really happy you got to come aboard.
I appreciate you guys having me on here. I don't know how to get off or where to go once I'm out in the vacuum of space, but I appreciate it.
Just going to shoot you out there.
Well, we're gonna pass M-Class Planet. We'll just launch you.
Oh, that's cool.
We'll put you in Spock's coffin so you'll be safe.
Yeah. Come back in 15 years and find out what seed has sprung.
Yes.
Remember.
Yeah, it's nice having you here. If you want to do it again, just let us know which episode you want to do.
You want to give one more plug? What was your website?
Oh, yeah, you can go to mark-th.tumblr.com. Or you can also check me out on Twitter at twitter.com/mark_th.
And we will link those in the show notes.
And if you want to find us on the Escape Podcast, you're already there. Just look. We got the links listed. I don't got to say them every episode. So there you go. Just
Make
look.
sure you leave a review to get that wonderful sock, the Escape sock.
Yeah.
All right.
All
See you
right.
later.
All right.
All right.
Now he's going to really feel replaced.
I'm coming for you, Dave.